Today we're going to go down to historic Guthrie, Oklahoma, the original capital of the state of Oklahoma, and we're going to visit and tour Wanderfolk Distillery. I hope you'll subscribe. I hope you click that bell, click the like button, provide me any comments as we go through this video. I know you'll enjoy it. Come join us on the tour.
Same Old Moses has an interesting story because this is what was based off of the first legal saloon in Oklahoma. And Moses was an immigrant who came over and had run a grocery store in Kansas City, or was a grocer. And when they opened up Oklahoma to come for settlement, he came in.
During the land run?
No, he came in on a train.
Oh, well, I mean, was it 1889?
It was during the settlement, yes. Yep. But he didn't do the boom route. He came in with the railroad. And then everybody in Guthrie has the line-up pull to sign up for your new plot and everything. And he went up selling bananas up and down the line because you couldn't get out of line. And so he made a good profit off of that and started, doing that because kids were selling cups of water that they'd gone down to the river and got a bucket of water and sell you a cup of water because you couldn't get out of line. And so he ended up selling bananas up and down there and got enough to get a general store. And he had heard word that if you went up to Kansas, you could get a certificate to sell liquor in the Oklahoma Territory. Well, so Moses had been open for a little while, and Carrie Nation, she's with the Hatchetation ladies, and they were pretty much what started Prohibition. And so they would come in to bars and saloons and chop up your bar, break all your glass and all your booze, and you couldn't recover. There was no insurance from it. And so they would just, break down all these bars. These guys couldn't recover. Well, they got run out of a lot of states and a lot of cities. Sure. Well, Oklahoma welcomed with open arms, and they kind of wanted to make Oklahoma a dry territory. And, well, she moved to Guthrie, and Moses knew there was going to be some problems. And so he just openly invited her. He goes, if you promise not to chat up my bar, you come in and talk all you want. I'll let you in. No hatchets and no crazy crowd, but you can come in here. Well, obviously, her speech at a bar didn't go very well with a bunch of people drinking. And so they were throwing beer on her, spitting on her. Well, she got mad, and she brings out a hatchet that she had hidden in her dress, and she gets one chop on that bar. And it was a good chop before they got it off her hands and threw her out. Well, that actually ended up how the people got to reorder their drink. You'd take your cup and knock it on the hatchet.
Oh, right.
Mark. So that's how you refill your drink. Knocking on that, and so I thought it was hilarious. So that's one of my favorite little side stories from it. But that's what we based all this off, and that's kind of what's funny is because he went out there afterwards on his bar and wrote "All nations welcome except for Carrie," and then
I wondered what that was.
And
I saw that over the door.
It spread across the nation as a way to, try to resist Prohibition or resist the Carrie Nation, and that was kind of the funny thing on it. And then the Same Old Moses was actually just kind of one of those funny things. He had set up his bar, he had set up his grocer, and somebody he knew saw him one day. I was like, man, you're doing crazy, you're doing good. Just the Same Old Moses. And he goes, you know that? And he went changed the name of his bar to Same Old Moses. And it was the first bar was that other. And then when we first opened this, it was Mac and Ice, and it was a bar that was kind of / tasting room and not. And we named it originally off the first two bartenders Moses had, which was Mac and Ike. Gotcha. And so we ended up changing that so this could be an official tasting room. All this started in 2012. And we started off with Prairie Wolf, which was not this is Loyal. This is a newer one within the year that we've switched to. But we started out with the vodka and the Loyal gin. And our still that we have over there is actually the first legal still that was opened in 2012. The Same Old Moses double barrel bourbon, and we have our Same Old Moses rye, and then we have our Prairie Wolf dry gin, and then our Garden Society gin. Now, the Garden Society is a lot of fun. I've put a million of these labels on, and they're so interesting. Now, these are actually the Hatchetation ladies that went around busting up bars for Prohibition.
Oh, gotcha.
And this is actually from Guthrie newspaper. We have a lot of fun, little things in here. there's like, you know, somebody hiding in the bushes, because there's always the joke if, you know, they shun you in public and take a nipogen in the garden. So it's always a good time in the garden. And there's a lot of fun things like hidden in there, and that's actually off of old historical Guthrie newspapers. But there's a lot of different herbs in there. I think it's around 32.
Wow.
They're not 32, but there's quite a few different ones in there. And so you get an interesting layer, and you don't get like that overpowering juniper. It's softer, and it's just more palatable as a gin to me.
That is very palatable.
It doesn't like.
It's kind of sweet.
It doesn't kick you in the teeth.
No.
It just is a nice, kind of subtle, smooth drink, and that's kind of why we put that one first.
I would say if I sat there and imagined if I was chewing on a bunch of flowers, you know, that whatever that bunch of flowers smelled like is what I tasted that. You said there's 32 different kinds.
I don't know if it's. I don't remember the exact count. I'm not gonna say it, but there are a bunch of different ones in there, and you know you have all sorts of different things like licorice are in there, and there's like arrowroot. And there's a ton of different things.
Yeah, there's no way I could pick any one thing out of all of that unless.
Now that one's more of your traditional dry gin,
Prairie
martini.
Wolf.
Yeah, and that's our Prairie Wolf dry gin.
Now, would this one be the Prairie Wolf be considered more of a mixer, and this one a sipper, or both of them go either way?
I would rather sip the Garden Society if I were to sip one.
Yeah, to me those smell a lot alike.
They do.
Although this one has a sweeter smell to it.
You'll feel a mouthfeel difference on that one, because that one has that dry, and so it definitely hits your tongue. And it does like a dry martini great. And it's like classic martini is gin, not vodka. So,
right.
And that one, you know, with an olive is great.
That's not bad either. To be straight, both of those are very sippable if you want to drink it like that. But I would imagine, I don't like olives, so me and martinis probably don't get along. But
everybody has their own taste, and that's what I say. A lot of it's just flavor profile, and which ones you like the best.
And so, are these the only two gins that you guys have?
That's our only two gins. And so we're trying to get as much local as we can. We're trying to talk to some farmers about growing like rye and everything here, and so we can actually use local rye. Everything's working. Oklahoma does a lot more farm, so a lot more grain for animal.
I can definitely smell the rye in that one.
It definitely has a little bit of heat.
Kind of peppery.
Yeah, well, it's the difference in that one is more of the after finish to me. Like, because after I take that sip and the heat kind of goes down, you actually get to taste that bourbon barrel in there.
That's not bad. And like I said, a straight rye and me usually don't get along because I can just feel the burn go all the way down. But I get a little heat right in my throat, but I don't have a burn in my chest that's got good flavor.
It's a great one, and it's like I like the finish, like the very end of it.
Yeah.
Like after the heat goes, you get to taste that barrel right there at the end, and it's just like a nice.
Yeah, you can definitely taste a little bit of that bourbon barrel.
And I think that taste. I'm not a master or anything like that, but I think that some of that bourbon barrel like helps tone that heat back,
right?
Because it's just in the composition of it. It's like the finish on it just helps.
Sure.
And it does that on all of them in everything. So we actually have more of a budget friendly bourbon now too. That's going to be the well at a bunch of places, and we don't do a second finish on that one. We do filter it again just to make sure we don't have any carbon particles in it and stuff from the barrel. But that one we have a rye and a bourbon as well, which is more affordable bourbon, and it's top notch still. It just doesn't get the second finish.
So double barreled bourbon?
Double barrel bourbon.
Straight
Same
bourbon.
old mode.
Wow, that smells really sweet.
And that's our flagship right there for bourbon.
It almost tastes like it's cask strength.
Yeah, it's a little stronger.
Or it tastes like, almost smells like it. Because it smells very sweet. And I've noticed as I get more and more into the bourbon scene that most of your single barrel, straight from the barrel stuff tastes sweeter than the filtered or ones that go through more processing. At least to me, anyway.
Well, every exchange and everything that you do, you get a loss, and something changes. So no matter what, if you take it out of the barrel and it hits air, it's a change.
Yeah.
Every time you put it into a different container, the container has a possibility of changing the flavor.
Right.
So, anytime you do anything extra, it will do extra to it. So it doesn't matter what it is, it'll change it somehow. It's like people that can, it's like, easiest way to kind of describe it is like a Chardonnay wine. If you've ever had one versus an oak barrel versus a steel barrel fermentation.
I'm sure I have, but the
steel barrel has
the same way with wine.
The steel barrel has a crisp taste. The oak has a buttery in there.
Are you guys working with any local liquor stores or Oklahoma metro area, Oklahoma City metro area? It's for like barrel picks or
we haven't asked
selects.
We have been asked for like a whole barrel before and stuff. I don't think they've done it yet, but they have been asked, and there are people that will say, "Hey, I want to buy a barrel," and and then this is that, and they've talked about it. Right now, they're not.
Okay.
I don't believe so. Now, I'm not going to say that they won't.
Sure.
Like if somebody comes up and says, "Hey, I want one," and they'll probably do it if they work it out. But that's one of those things they just haven't started doing that yet. We want to go look around some?
Absolutely. Let's go see the
check
distillery.
this place out. So this is main base, and as you can see, there's a lot of stuff going on. We originally had our filling line right here, and so we'd be driving a forklift doing filling and all the work around our still. So they're trying to get less forklift around our still. But this is our original still. This is the one that opened up in 2012, the first legal still in Oklahoma. This bad boy is what we're moving to. So we're going from 60 to, I think, 600 liters. So big upgrade. We have some massive columns. This is all kind of it's kind of funny. We bought the pieces, we're going to put it together. Kind of thing. And so
these are going to be all columns.
These are columns. And so this one, we have another big piece for it back here that comes up and all neat and pretty. And then it'll come over, and we have different chambers, but it's the drip system. So as it comes up, it hits these plates, and then it comes back down, and you end up getting a more and more pure liquor as it goes up and further, because each catches more oils and water that you don't want. Because when you're done doing it, there's a big nasty goopy mess in that still that you dump out on the into the drain. But there's a lot that goes over and gets out clean. So each one of those ones, and you can close those to make them even tighter. So if we have a messed up batch, or we have too much heads or anything like that, you can actually go completely clean liquor by the time you're out of it and have GNS back in there. So it's like you can set down all the plates, and it pushes, like, it's so hard to push through that by anything that comes out of that is back at grain neutral spirit. And so like the still can be used in a lot of deals. This one's actually a prototype still is what they call it, or whatever, where you make all your test batches and then you size up from it. And so This one can do anything. And it can do like a regular distillation, the extra column. And so we can do, over here, we'll do like a big batch, because we put the liquid in here, and then we also hang the bag of herbs in here too. Like, so from the maceration and like everything. Well, we have it up here. We don't put a basket of herbs in here. We actually have a rack It's like a mesh rack in there. We put all the herbs in there through that, and that's actually what we do for our dry gin. And so the flavor profile comes from this instead of sitting in it overnight. Is when we macerate, which that means is we put it in the herbs in great neutral spirits and let it sit overnight or 48 hours. It's like you don't want to go too long. And so it pulls out all those flavors. You dump it in here, and then you put it through the still, and we can take this pipe off. We have another one that comes over and straight down. And this is our chilling with our coils and everything. So when it's set up like this, it pushes all that alcohol vapor through the herbs, and then it comes down, and then it goes, like you see where it comes through all the different things. So it comes off with that lighter flavor. You don't get the difference in flavor between putting one in this column versus this one is 100% different. You could do the exact same recipe.
A lot of science behind it.
Oh, it's a ridiculous amount of science. Let's go check out some barrels.
All right.
And cool part. Yeah, it's a little shuffled around now because we are been dumping barrels and refilling. But these nice ones set over here have been the 4-year age. So these aren't going to move for 4 years. And I think they got a year in them now, a year and a half.
Holy moly.
And so as we get down here, they're a little newer. But as you see, the barrels leak and stuff, because part of the barrel science is that hot, cold, hot, cold. And that what that does is it pushes the alcohol in and out through that wood, and they pick up more sugars. Well, you also get this loss, which is they call it angel's share.
Yeah. So what is like these names here? Is that the type of wood?
Sauterne is the wine. This one was.
And that was a wine barrel.
This one is Amarino. Then we also have Ruby somewhere, but we have like a whole bunch of different finishes, and I can't remember all of them right off the top of my head. But I know we have. Sure. I know we have. See this one, Sauterne. For this one's a Sauterne.
You got them on the side that you can't see.
This one's an Amarino, and that's an old double barrel bourbon now that has rye in it. And so we have these different codes that we have trying to figure it out as we've been playing with barrels. And so some of them have like one brand laser did them. So you can do a fire roast versus a laser roast.
On the inside of the barrel?
And so it goes through with a laser and chars it instead of a fire. And you get a different flavor profile. As I said, everything that you do changes the flavor. And so laser versus, char versus like fire char. We do a fire char now instead of laser. But that was one of those that we tried out for a while. And so we repurposed the barrels.
So what's the big difference in putting barrels on their side or standing straight up?
Space. Takes a lot less space to do that way versus that way. Because if you look at here,
it should age the same, or will it be different?
There's differences as far as surface area. So if you look at here, surface area, you're losing this much surface area probably from air loss.
Gotcha.
But if you're going here and you're losing
it's
a
only
difference,
the top.
And so it's all up here, which is your loss instead of like this entire part of the barrel. So you get more surface area on the actual wood, and so you actually can get more flavor out of it. And then your hot, cold does a lot. And so you get your honey hole spots. And you can see some of them have had more temperature change than others. And I don't know if that one was too hot, too cold, and then it cracked and whatnot. But you have things like that happen. And then what's crazy is like that barrel that's underneath it's getting soaked in it. Well, it's technically absorbing stuff and
whatnot. The one on the bottom ought to be great then. It's got the top 3 barrels leaking
what's like
onto
crazy is it's like that one like that's over there, but the light might be it. Or 3rd row back, 5 in on the left side, it'll have the best barrel ever. And the whole alcohol science is just crazy. And just think, it's a fungus. It gives us all of this.
Yeah.
A fungus, it's like yeast. It's insane.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
And see these big gray, pull these out. Come on. There.
Those barrels are huge.
Those ones are those ones I was talking about, the Pedro Jimenez sherry. And now this is that gray brown that's right here. That's that fungus that I was talking about that helps process the alcohol.
Huh.
And we keep it close to our brick because it'll grow on our brick because it actually feeds off alcohol vapor.
Oh, really?
And so if it gets on our brick, it gets onto our barrels, which gets onto everything, and then eventually we'll have to power wash the whole town.
So these are sherry barrels. Is that what you said?
This one's Pedro Jimenez sherry.
Wow.
And
so are these like twice the volume of your regular barrel?
I can't remember exactly how much is in all of these, but it's definitely, I think it's, I'm trying to remember. Like, I think this one would be about 2/3 of this one.
Those are massive.
Massive. And they're really hard to get a hold of, and they're really cool. But all that sat there with the sherry in it for 20 years before it got to us. So that sugar in that barrel is awesome. And that's why I tell you, it comes out like a dessert bourbon.
Oh, I bet.
It's thick, and it's cool. And this is just pretty much it. Like everything from here back is just like you see. This is, like I told you, every stage. Well, we've had to dump it out of the barrels, and this is it ready to be put into the barrels or into the bottles, which is about to be in a week or two. We have a new 2 new ryes that will be coming out, and we're actually got our labels in today, so we can finally start labeling and then fill them. And we hand label all these. So all of our labels are pretty much put on by hand or a machine that we drop it in, and it spins it one bottle at a time. So we put on all those labels.
Super.
And these
I really appreciate you opening up the Rick House and taking us through your distillery side, showing us what's to come, and doing the taste test. This is awesome. I hope you guys just have a fantastic future. I think you do. Right. So we just finished our tour at the Wanderfolk Distillery in Guthrie. Got us a couple of bottles of Old Moses. Hope you guys come up here sometime to Guthrie. Check out this old cool downtown. Check out the distillery. Very cool place. Worth your business. And the spirits they sell here are phenomenal. Hope you guys come back and see us on the next one.